Hello, welcome to Staring Down the Storm, Autism Advocacy in America. I'm your host, Tabitha Ziegler. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We have a really cool guest for you today. I'll let him introduce himself, give a little bit of the backstory, and take it away, Andrew.
Hello there. My name is Andrew Rice. I am challenging 35-year incumbent Rosa DeLauro for the Democratic nomination in Connecticut's 3rd Congressional District. Right now, we are in the midst of gathering enough petition signatures to force a primary because a few weeks ago at the Democratic convention to nominate a candidate, the Democratic Party broke 6+ rules of the convention to keep us off of the ballot. We have a hearing tonight to challenge the results of that convention and demand a new one be held. But since the Democratic Party likes to break their own rules, we don't really expect them to hold themselves accountable for what they have done. So we are going to get those petitions and we are going to force a primary. And we're going to do everything we can to hold Rosa DeLauro accountable for some of her controversial stances, such as being pro-ICE, being pro-APAC, being pro-corporations, and not supporting working class policies such as Medicare for all or housing guarantees, or reducing war spending so that we're not destabilizing countries and our climate. And we really want to push for a working class agenda that actually addresses people's needs and why they're struggling.
Awesome. Speaking of working class, I'm very working class. I just dropped my kid off at ABA school and I'm sitting in the McDonald's parking lot because I was like, you know what? We're just going to do this real working class today. And I love that you're a working class candidate. So let's talk a little bit more about your upbringing and your heritage and your connection to Connecticut.
So my mom is a first-generation Italian-American. My dad is a second-generation Irish-American, so I'm 50% Irish, 50% Italian, 100% American. I was born in Danbury, Connecticut. I lived in Kentucky for a year before I really had any memories of it. And then I lived in Salem, Connecticut from 91 to 99. Then I moved to England for 2 years as a tween. Then I came back, lived in Waterford. And then in 2010, after I graduated from the University of Connecticut, I started working for Yale University. So I moved to Milford and I've been here ever since. I currently rent a house with my college roommate and my dog Yoshi, who is right here on the floor.
What kind of dog?
Yoshi, come here. Come here. Open. Open. Yoshi. Okay, well, now he's being stubborn.
Here, let's see Yoshi. Hi. He's like, listen, no paparazzi. Get out of here.
Paparazzi. I love that. I love the puns. He's my policy advisor.
Okay.
For our underdog campaign. Let's see. He is a.
So he's your campaign support animal.
Yes, he is. He is absolutely my campaign support animal. I don't know what I would do without him because, as you know, running for office is very stressful. There's so many emotions that go along with it. Disappointment, anger, hope, excitement, fear, loathing, just all of the emotions all the time.
That's a good one.
That one. Like, people would always say the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are the same thing. And I was like, well, hold up a minute. At least Democrats, believe in choice. They believe in, social and civil rights. And then as I've gone through this process, I'm like, well, I'm an openly gay person. And so going through this process, they have used all of what they can to keep us off the ballot. They have broken their own rules to prevent us from having ballot access. And it's like, okay, so I've come to realize that the Democratic Party, at least the establishment part of it, doesn't actually believe in choice. And here they are trying to silence a gay man. And at the end of the day, I realized that, yes, the Democratic Party establishment believes in control. They have been keeping Green Party candidates off of the ballot for years. They always, accuse Republicans of having to cheat because their policies are no good. Democratic establishment is the same thing. They have to cheat because their policies are also no good. And then I realized, as far as like being a gay man, first of all, like Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro voted in favor of the Defense of Marriage Act. Democrats did not give a flying fuck about the gay community or anyone or any LGBTQ plus person until the early 2010s, when public opinion polling showed that it was okay for the Democrats to support gay people. So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm starting to see why people say that they are the same thing, because they don't fight for the working class. They don't believe in giving people a choice. And then they don't actually stand up for anyone's rights unless it's popular to do so. And we can see that a lot right now with our trans comrades, who many Democrats like Pete Buttigieg, like Gavin Newsom, have thrown under the bus because it's politically convenient, because trans people do not poll as well as the rest of the LGBTQ plus community. And so I think that's part where the loathing and disappointment comes in, is seeing a party that I used to hold in such high revere really be no better than the people there. What is that expression? Every accusation is an admission. Both parties accuse the same thing of what they should just be admitting to doing themselves.
Mm-hmm. I find that really interesting, because whenever I was campaigning, I just decided, you know what? I want to be like, whenever I'm out and speaking and the things that I'm speaking about, I want to present the type of candidate that I would want to vote for. So I just decided radical truth and authenticity was the way to go. And I was at an event because I'm in a very, very, very red area. And most of the people that I grew up around, including my parents, are Republican, for example. Heard all the trash talking, all the same stuff that you did. Democrats are horrible, blah, 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 blah. And then I was gay, and I was like, right, well, I'm gay, therefore I cannot be a Republican because you guys aren't about any of that kind of noise. So then I must be a Democrat. And I have been pretty staunch in it forever. Since I was 18, I was like, I'm for human rights. I'm for gay people. I am a gay person. I don't hate trans people or any of the things. I was always, not always, but I went to gay bars with drag queens and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you can't drop the T from the LGBTQ. It's hypocritical and just flat out bullshit. Plus, everybody knows that once they come for one, they come for all.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it really fucking convenient that people are really, essentially willing to cut off their right foot to save the rest of their body right now. And it's like, hey, you need 2 feet to walk here. So when I was at an event in a very red area, which, by the way, I was not invited to an event by this county's Democratic Party.
Of course you weren't.
I was invited by the county. Right? So I'm pretty sure predominantly the Republicans put this on, and they invited everybody, which then I came to. And part of my spiel, because I decided, right, I'm just going to show up like all the other people from around here, jeans, t-shirt sort of thing. Because by that point I'd about had it. And I was like, I am like the working class. I'm like these people. And it feels a bit disingenuous to go to a very rural agricultural area where most people are in jeans and present myself other than what I am. So right out the gate, I pretty much was like, right. So I come from a Republican family, but I'm not Republican because I'm gay. And everybody was like, oh, did you just say that? I was like, yes, I did. Welcome to the party, because there are gays here. And there are gays from families that have been here since before some of these states were states. There are there's a huge community of Two-Spirit people, and it's been accepted for millennia in many of the indigenous cultures. And being that this country was established on principles that were stolen from the Haudenosaunee tribe, I'm like, get the fuck out of here with all that nonsense. The LGBTQ community has been a bedrock within the American community since time immemorial. And so I've so far had it. with all of this bullshit, all of this white Christian nationalists who, by the way, are running around like, doing all the things that they say we do that are bad, i.e., all the closet stuff, raping little kids, all of it. I'm done. How do you feel about that?
So I actually started wearing this cross about a year ago because of the rise of Christian nationalism. And I'm like, I don't understand any of it because Jesus was like, you know what? Let's take care of the poor people. Let's take care of the sick people. Let's treat prostitutes like we would treat anyone else. Let us house people. Let us accept immigrants. Let us just love every neighbor except for rich people. We're going to throw tables at them and say that they're never getting into heaven. And then you have these Christian nationalists who are like, you know what? We actually hate everybody. We hate immigrants. We don't want to take care of poor people. We don't want to take care of sick people. And we're going to worship billionaires. And I'm like, I don't understand the disconnect of what Jesus's message was and how you're doing the exact opposite and then worshiping people who are the only people that Jesus didn't approve of.
Well, I will tell you, I'm really trying hard to push like different content creators that I think are doing good things. Like right now, Patagonia.
And what Patagonia, the corporation's doing to them? Once again, just goes to show that corporations love talking a big game. They love talking about how they're so pro-climate and pro-environment, yet they're attacking one of the most profound climate activists and environmental activists, especially in the LGBTQ plus community. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, it all just always boils down to profit and making money, and anything that they think stands in the way of their profit and their money, they will attack. And so this is why I don't trust corporations. This is why I don't trust any of the politicians that take money from those corporations, because once you take those corporate dollars, why should I expect you to be beholden to the people and not those corporations? And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, hence my mug.
I saw that.
And in episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan Kenobi says to Anakin Skywalker, I've often observed that politicians will please those that fund their campaigns and ignore the niceties of democracy to secure those funds. And it's so true. And so take a look at my incumbent, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro. She will not abolish ICE. She takes money from AT&T, L3 Harris, General Dynamics. All three of them have contracts with ICE. All three of them profit off of ICE. So when she says she doesn't want to abolish ICE, is that what she truly thinks is best? Or is that what her corporate sponsors are asking her to say? She says she's against this war in Iran, and she's against, all of these humanitarian issues caused by our military intervention, but she keeps voting in favor of these $1 trillion imperial war budgets. She takes money from Boeing, L3 Harris, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon Technologies, Honeywell International, and all of these military contractors. And just like, so you say you don't support war, and you're saying that all of these wars are bad, yet you keep giving them money to continue doing these wars. So which is it, Rosa?
Well, I've got an answer to that, or at least what I think. I think the Democratic Party's theme song, and all the drag queens out there is probably going to really appreciate this, is Money, Money, Money. And I would love, I don't know if Patagonia has done this already, but I think it would be a fucking hilarious parody if she did, like, Money, Money, Money in drag, like, in DC or whatever. I just think that would be spot on. Because right now, it's like, you get these in name only progressive candidates that potentially are in Congress. And yet, like you said, once you start digging into those campaign donations, you find out real quick what they're about. And so that's why I tell people, hey, like, I do think it's a bit more uniparty than anything right now, because now that I've seen how the sausage is made, I'm like, oh, shit. You know what? Like, the Republicans might have been onto something here. And if we're going to do better, and if we want to be better, and if we want to engage the younger generation who is disengaged for good reason, we have to be about that business. Like, we have to be 10 toes down, walk that walk, talk that talk, be unapologetic about it. And this is why I self-identify as a progressive. I like other progressives. I find things on a moral level that are more compelling with progressives. And I do not think it's a coincidence why the Democratic establishment is essentially painting us as the villains, because we're doing the things and saying the things that the American people actually want.
I mean, a great example of this is Hassan Piker. He
Mm-hmm.
is actually fighting for leftist values. He is actually fighting for what he believes in. He actually believes in humanitarian aid and taking care of working class people and legislation like Medicare for all and things that would actually benefit people on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of supporting him and embracing him, the Democratic establishment is cheering on Donald Trump, subpoenaing him for simply giving medical supplies to Cubans. And we've been blockading Cuba since its existence under
Mm-hmm.
Castro. And so to me, someone told me once that liberals will always side with fascism because fascism isn't a threat to capitalism. And we are witnessing this in real time. The Democratic Party establishment is not progressive. They are neoliberals. They still support fascism. They just like their polite version of fascism. They like fascism with a smile. They,
Yep.
they should just call it blue MAGA fascism because at the end of the day, they are still beholden to the same corporations. They are still pushing for imperial policies, and they are not pushing for populist economic policies that would actually benefit the working and middle classes, but they do it with a smile. And then the minute someone goes against them, yes, they vilify us. They make us these villains because they don't actually support the left. If the Democratic Party spent as much time trying to defeat people like me, like you, like Hassan Piker, like Patagonia, then we wouldn't have Trump. But no,
Mm-hmm.
they're using all that energy to fight people on the left. And then when we don't go to the polls to... So a DTC member came up to me and said, will you support Rosa DeLauro in November? And I'm like, if we're not given a primary because we were cheated and you lied to us and you gaslit us, then no, I'm not going to support her. And she goes, Andrew, you need to put on your big boy pants and get all of your supporters to vote for Rosa no matter what, because we need Democrats. And I'm like, what am I going to get for voting for you? Medicare for all? No. Abolishing ICE? No. Decreasing in the Imperial War budget? No. Any sort of policy that's going to help me pay rent or buy a house one day or do anything? No. So literally the only thing that you can say is vote for us because Trump is bad. And I'm like, you all have been doing that for 10 years and look at where we're at. And so also I just feel so patronized by the Democratic Party establishment because they're always like, oh, as you said, you're gay. Well, we're for gay people. So you have to vote for us because if you don't, those scary Republicans are going to take away your rights.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe true, but there's more to me than just being gay. I also would like to afford a house. I would also like to be able to afford groceries. I would also like to, step outside at 10 p.m. during the summer and not have it be 90 degrees because we've destroyed our climate. Stop patronizing me and using my identity to try and control my vote and then make me feel bad for not voting for you because the other person's just a little worse. So I'm a biologist, and in biology, two of the prominent diseases are AIDS and cancer. And in biology, if you're given an option of the two, you take AIDS because even without medicine, you can survive AIDS for a good 10 years. Cancer, without intervention, you're probably going to die. So I make this comparison. The Democrats are AIDS and the Republicans are cancer. And I'm at the point where I'd rather shoot myself in the fucking head than have to deal with either terminal illness. I'm like, just because your terminal illness is just a little less worse than the other one doesn't mean I want a terminal illness representing me. I want a breath of fresh air. I want clean mountain air, not AIDS. No, thank you, Democrats. I have dark humor. I like dark humor.
You're probably talking to the right person. I had a really long conversation this morning with a friend of mine, and I was like, my goal is to educate, inform, and surround myself with good people that are doers, that are actually trying to make change. And what I really hate are all these fakers, all these disingenuous fakers that once you boil it down, the bedrock is the same. It's like, do you want change? Do you not? Are you willing to sacrifice people? Are you not? This is why I'm so pissed off right now about AIPAC and Zionism and all that, because I'm like, I'm a humanist first. I probably was a bit late to the party, to be honest with you, because I don't feel that I was as informed. I did not have as much knowledge. I have been to Israel. I have friends that are Israeli. I was a flight attendant for 17 years, so I was flying back and forth. We do such a good job in the U.S. of propagandizing people to making people not look, right? It's very much like, look over here, don't look over there. So I feel really guilty, actually, because it never dawned on me in those very short stints, like 24-hour stints that I was in Israel, right? Like I never was there for a long amount of time. But it never occurred to me certain things of like, how would one get to Palestine? Like if you're in Tel Aviv, how does one actually get there to see it? And the fact that most Americans, we don't have those type of conversations. Most people are never going to go to Israel. And so all of the information that you're getting that is pumped into the U.S. is that still very much like that democratic sort of mentality, right? Where it's like these dirty Muslims, these horrible Muslims that hate gays, and, given the opportunity, they'd slit your throats. And it's like, hold on a second. And now flash forward. And this is where the autism kicks in, right? Like the pattern recognition. Because I'm like, wait a minute. You're not giving me enough evidence to this. And now that I've got more information, and now I'm going to make an educated decision for myself, and, as people do when you start to have conversations and, get more thought in there, which is why they don't want us to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, holy shit. You guys, not only have you been gaslighting the American public, you're drowning us. You've literally got your foot on the back of our neck in a puddle here. And you're like, just try and breathe every once in a while. We're like rats just treading water. And all the while, our Congress people, Republican and Democrat alike, have been purging billions of our dollars to pay for things like universal health care, free higher education for Israelis. And meanwhile, they're talking shit about Americans in Israel and laughing at us when we're like, hold on a minute. We were told that supporting you all was the right thing to do. Making sure that you guys were protected was to our benefit. And now that the veil is starting to lift, Americans are like, whoa. And that's across the board. It's every single person that I spoke to on the campaign trail when I would tell them things, just in general, very general stuff. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, right? Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy that these parties that you support would go against your own interest to support a foreign entity that won't even register with FARA, meanwhile is pumping money into our politics to buy our politicians to work against Americans?
Yes. And going back to the whole gay Muslim thing, first of all, every Muslim person that I have met has never had an issue with me being gay. Christians, yeah, lots of issues. So from my perspective, on a personal experience, Muslims have had a better track record with me being gay than Christians and even some Jewish people. But at the end of the day, I don't care if people in Palestine would stone me because I'm gay. I don't. Genocide is genocide.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to support the genocide of a people because they're not supposedly supportive enough of my rights. Because if we're going to go with that argument, then what people are saying is that we should support genocide against Republicans because Republicans are also not good on gay rights. So do we accept that argument? Because I would not accept a genocide against Republican people because they don't support gay people. I don't need you to approve of my lifestyle for me to not want you to be genocided. And the fact that people don't understand that is mind-boggling. Also, the IDF, they will out gay Palestinian people unless they are informants for the IDF and feed them information to help, disenfranchise Palestinian people. And then more gay people in Palestine have died because of the IDF's bombings than there have been of Hamas or whoever supposedly stoning gay people. So stop trying to, once again, use my identity to justify bad things. Stop using my identity against me to try and make me support a genocide. Fuck you.
Yeah. And then on top of that, to go further into that, because I'm a domestic violence survivor, I find it fucking ironic as hell that, like, some people are using some of the same arguments on our side, just packaging it in a different way, right? It's like, no, like, we believe in women's rights. We believe in reproductive freedom. We do believe in taking care of children. But when push comes to shove, like, we're still going to take that APAC money. We're still going to take money from people that are trying to privatize our education system. We're still not going to vote to give, like, these kids, free breakfast, free lunch in school, to make sure that their summer programs are funded. Like, I find it so ironic. And then, yes, much like Jesus, right? Whenever I think back, because I'm from the Bible Belt, I spent a lot of time in church, and I'm of the generation that was the WWJD bracelets and all the things. So now all of us that were raised to do a certain thing and believe a certain way, we're now acting on that teaching, which is Jesus's teaching, right? And we're like, hold on a second. So if Jesus said, like you said, you don't do these things, then how can we, of any faith, of any background, of any sexual orientation, accept that? And this is why I always lead with, I'm a humanitarian first. I'm a humanist first. Because, as you know, the Human Genome Project literally says we're like 99% the same. So when you give people science, which is why they don't... There you go. And which they hate science, because when you teach people things like that, it bridges the gap, and they're like, hold on. Then all of a sudden that dirty Muslim over there, or that dirty gay over there, or that dirty trans person over there, you're like, well, technically we're more alike than we are different. And the difference that we have is money. Like, the difference that we have are these people trying to keep their boot on our neck. So therefore, the poor and middle class, which there's barely a middle class anymore, but I digress. The poor and the middle class in America, we all have more in common, like the 342 million of us versus a handful of billionaires that couldn't give a shit if we're fighting each other, cutting each other's throats. Like, that's to their benefit. So the progressives out here saying things like, hey, we need universal health care because, like, health care is a human right, you dirty communists.
Yeah. When in the rest of the developed world, it is just a given. None of these countries that have universal healthcare systems have ever abandoned them. Why is that? Because it works.
Well, I just find it hysterical because, like, I did a lot of traveling, right? So I know that the retired Americans, the ones that can leave, that can afford to leave, have been flooding into places like Portugal because of their healthcare system.
Yes,
so Americans that thought it was good, that made a bunch of money here, are now buying the golden visas to go elsewhere because of things like healthcare, because they're aging now.
Yes, and I think it's like one thing that really bothers me, especially about people like Rosa DeLauro or well, any of them. Oh, government health care is, so bad and we can't have that because this and that. I'm sorry, you all have government health care. You
Right.
all have the same health care you are saying that we don't deserve. You can go see a doctor. You don't have to worry about copays and you don't have to worry about denials because you are getting health care subsidized by our tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And then saying that it's okay for these private insurance companies to be gangster middlemen who do not provide, like, insurance industry does not provide any health care, does not provide any sort of value. And a lot of people conflate their health insurance with their health care.
Mm-hmm.
People love their health care. They hate their health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Because health care is what actually gives you the medicine. Health insurance is what tries to prevent you from getting access to that medicine. And so when people are like, but if there's universal health care, will I be able to see my doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you will. Because right now with our private health insurance industry, I left my job and went to a different job. I can no longer see half the doctors that I saw before because suddenly they weren't in network. Mm-hmm. So people are so afraid that if we have universal health care, they're going to be deprived choice. I'm like, we don't have choice right now.
Right. Well, don't you think it's really funny too? These same people that are still thumping that socialism drum, like socialism bad, but you're benefiting from socialism. Like every single person in our government right now is benefiting from socialism on the backs of the American people.
So everyone benefits from socialism. Our roads are socialism. Yep. Our public school system is socialism. Our police are socialism. Firefighters, libraries, health, a public health infrastructure. All of that is socialism. Then there's also, socialism for the large corporations because we subsidize, we like $4,000 of our, we each pay around like $4,000 in taxes to just subsidize big oil while they're making record profits. Government subsidizing something? Yeah. Okay, so these industries
well, they're
socialism,
busy draining Corpus Christi and other places like that from their water and natural resources. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Like, don't even get me started with like all of these AI data centers.
I know there's not
things.
Enough fucking time in the day, right?
There's not enough time in the day for all of this. And to me, it all just goes back and boils back down to capitalism and the profit-driven motive, because everything is about having to make a profit. And eventually, the only way to make profit year after year after year is to reduce the quality of the product or service, exploit labor, or exploit the environment. And AI is just doing all of that. It is exploiting the environment. It is exploiting labor because all these AI data models and everything take information from private resources and from people that have put in the work. They're not getting compensated for it. And then they take away people's jobs. And it's just like this AI is not, and I love how people are like, oh, you know what? Once we have AI, we're all just going to have to, we'll all be able to work a little bit less because AI will be able to help us. I'm like, y'all need to remember, history. I used to ask myself, like, what did people do back in the 90s and 80s and 90s before there was the computer and the internet? And then I realized they did the same exact thing that we do now. They just didn't have the computer and the internet to get it done. Yeah. But once the computer revolution, internet revolution happened, we all didn't suddenly get 20, 25-hour work weeks. They just fired half the people and made the other half that were there twice as productive. So AI is just going to do the same thing. We're not going to have, this life of luxury because of AI. We're all just going to be broke and homeless and then thrown into jail because now apparently being homeless is a crime.
Yeah. Well, I find it interesting, right? Because I used to live in Ireland, and Ireland has come up with some pretty decent regulation on AI. And obviously, there's technology that is coming. This is true. But there's also a responsible way and an environmentally friendly way to go about that. And there are several different models all over the place. And what a lot of people they don't understand about the way that we're doing it here is it's without public permission and public approval, which is a problem. It's completely unregulated. So how can you control these people who are running rampant without the approval of the people and the places that they're going into? And how can you protect those people? And I feel like that's part of the motivation for being a congressperson, don't you think? Like, you're going to protect your people.
And that should be the motivation of Congress
Right.
people. It doesn't seem to be, because if it was, then why are we in this hellfire that we are in? And so I think in Utah, I think there was like overwhelming, no, we do not want these data centers.
Yep.
Absolutely not. No, 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 no. And the court was able to put a kibosh on it.
They
But then these
literally, to
billionaires,
shut those people up, what they did was they would not hear them. So then they moved their party to a private room and broadcast it in their faces. Oh, hey, by the way, we're not going to let you speak. We're just going to go into this side room. So technically you can see us, but you can't comment, and we're going to pass it anyway. So they really flipped the bird to all these people from Utah. And now you have groups within Utah, these environmental groups, which I recently just saw some of the Olympians are getting on board with that, which I think is great. And they're like, you know what? Whether you're spraying our forests with shit that you shouldn't, whether you're putting in AI data centers, like, these are the public spaces. These were meant for Americans. They're like entrusted into Americans. And now you're taking this cumulatively from all of us, be they Republican or Democrat, to once again give the benefit to the corporations. So now I think people across the aisle, even, like, this is where the bridge is for people like you. Like, this is where you would draw people, hypothetically, from all parties. Because if you start to put people like you in office who say things like this, that appeal to the masses, then by and large, it thins that line. And all of a sudden people are like, do I care so much about being a Republican or Democrat, or do I care more so about the person that seems that they're going to protect me, my family, and the natural resources?
well, I saw a meme the other day, and it said, if you poured a gallon of poison into a CEO's pool, you would be arrested for attempted murder. But if a CEO pours tens of thousands of gallons of poison into, public water, that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And that's what, that is what that's what all these corporations do. They poison our environment, they poison our crops, they poison our water, they poison our air. And that's fine because it's business, and, corporations provide jobs and this, and that. And just like, well, no, they keep taking away all the jobs and then saying that they have record profit. And it's Schrodinger's cat, but like Schrodinger's corporation. They both, have record profit but can't pay their employees more. And, it is just all this contradictory bullshit. And yeah,
well, they poison you and then they make you pay for it.
Yes, yes. And then on top of all of that, they convince you it's a personal failure. And earlier in our conversation, you said that you felt bad that you didn't know earlier, and I meant to say, like, no, stop right there, because you are doing that thing where you are holding yourself personally responsible for a societal issue. And no, we need to stop putting the burden on ourselves, because that is what the system wants us to do. They want us to think that all of these things are personal failures. No. I cannot control. I can't. I could be as healthy as I can try and be. I can't stop breathing in poisoned air and drinking poisoned water when there are no other availability, other options for me to do. Like, no, these are all societal failures.
True.
And I'm just at the point, and a lot of us are just at the point where we're just sick and tired, and we're not pussyfooting around any of this. And as a gay man, I definitely don't pussyfoot because ill. People are angry.
Yeah, they are.
And honestly, people aren't angry enough. And I've actually had some establishment Democrats tell me, because a lot of my supporters were angry at the convention and calling people, I think, like, fascists and motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they were all clenching their pearls, being like, oh, and just like, the Democratic Party is so patronizing because they're like, oh, that's not the proper way to, do things. We've tried the proper way. We have tried to be diplomatic. We have tried to appeal to your sense of humanity. We've sent letters. We've held peaceful protests. We have called into the office. We have lobbied our politicians. We have lobbied our Democratic town committees. We've lobbied people, and you still piss in our faces and tell us to enjoy it. And we're all at the point where we're going to shit in their mouths and tell them to appreciate it. Because this is ridiculous.
I ran for Congress because of this shit. Like in Indiana, just as an example, I have 3 little kids that have autism that are under 7. All of them were in ABA school. So Indiana basically did not structure their legislation well enough, and there were loopholes that companies could exploit. So then out-of-state companies came in, as well as some in-state companies, and exploited those loopholes and, got more money for services probably than they should have. And, were a little shady in their practices. And then ultimately, the autistic kids are suffering because all the poor kids, the ethnic kids, like the people that would be on Medicaid to get these services now, because they drained the fund, rather than go after these people, which I think they're starting to do now, right? But like little cart, but like way behind the horse here. Now all of these autistic families, the parents are having to do 1 hour per kid a week of like this parenting, like parent-teacher conference stuff. And it's like, who has the time to do that? Like, you're asking these people to leave their jobs, which most of these autistic parents have to eventually leave their jobs anyway, because it's just unsustainable, right? Like, you can't be everywhere, do all the therapies, and do all the things. So anyway, I'm one of those parents. So I left my job to run for Congress because of this kind of shit. And then the Democratic Party goes around and picks people that are these white bread centrists that are like, right, we hear you. Yes, of course, that's concerning. And no, we want something done now. Like, we paid, like, for me, I was happy paying taxes and all the rest for years. I made more money before than I ever will now as a parent, and wasn't bitching about my taxes because I had nieces and nephews, and I was like, right, okay, you're taking taxes from me to go into the education system and to social programs for these kids and my nieces and nephews and all the things. How is it that people like me are okay paying taxes when we know we're getting gouged? But we're not getting anything back. But the corporations and the billionaires and the Congress people and whatever, they are just making money hand over fist. And they still have the fucking audacity to look in faces like mine and be like, yes, that's concerning. And we write the letters and we call and we do all the things. And then you get people pissed off well enough, someone like me that's like, fuck it then, I'll just run for Congress. And I'll run my campaign myself. I'll finance it myself just to prove a fucking point that you guys better start paying attention, because the working class people in this country are fucking livid. And you're going to have a 1789 situation very soon if you guys don't get your shit together. And meanwhile, we've got all these Congress people like DeLauro. No offense, don't know the lady, but goddamn, like how many terms do you have to spend in office and not do shit?
So, and a lot of people have been like, oh, well, she has so much experience and seniority, and we really don't want to lose that. Okay, we have the most experienced and senior Congress in our history, and the world's on fire. We're all broke. We're all starving. Well, I shouldn't say we're all starving.
I mean, yeah.
I have food, and I don't want to invalidate people who are, very, very much struggling.
But people in your district probably are.
There are so many homeless people in our district, and it's just like, if 35 years of seniority and 35 years of experience really meant something, why don't we all have health care? Why are our schools falling apart? Why can't people afford rent? Why, when I go to people's apartments, the complexes are falling apart, and there's mold, and there's dust, and there's just all of this despicable conditions that no one is able to stand up against because they are too afraid. Where have our representatives been with all of this leadership helping these people? Why do we have so much poverty if these people were actually doing something for us? Why are so many people going bankrupt because they got sick if this experience and this seniority was doing anything to our benefit?
I agree with you. And to have someone that was in the science field say something like this is significant. Like, this is what I find interesting about the type of people that are running for office right now, because, let's face it, this is hard. You could be doing a lot of other things. Like, what would you rather be doing with your free time besides like fighting fascism and fighting for democracy for a country that doesn't give a shit about you?
In my free time, I would love to be sipping on some fruit juice with my tits out in the sun. That is what I want to be doing.
Well,
but no.
I have a lot of thoughts too. And I'm like, I spent a decent amount of time in Europe. I understand how that system works. I think most Americans would appreciate having this, like the summer off, have a month off, be actually able to go somewhere and relax. Like, Americans have not experienced what it would be like to just work one job where you could support yourself in generations at this point.
Yeah. But like, so many Americans wear their exploitation on their sleeve like a badge of honor, and they'd be like, I work 80 hours a week. What's your excuse? I'm like, why are you bragging about working so much to not have anything to show for it?
Well, that billionaire is on his fucking private yacht with his tits out.
Yeah. Yes, and oh my god, and they're always like, well, when people defend billionaires, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, when you lick a boot, you're typically going to be kicked in the teeth by that same boot. Like, why are you licking these billionaires' boots? They're literally just kicking you in the teeth.
Yeah,
you're sitting there defending them and wearing your exploitation as a badge of honor while they sit there and laugh at you.
Yeah.
Like, why do you not want more time for yourself, for rest, for relaxation, for creativity, for friendship, for community, for neighbors, for passions, for, like, what the fuck is the point of all of this if we are... I saw another meme where it's like left-wing utopia. Everyone gets health care. Everyone, works 30 hours a week at a job that they like and can afford, the necessities of life with a little bit extra. Right-wing utopia. Everyone who's white works 80 hours a week, gets 1 week of vacation, and everyone else is dead. And I'm like, it's so true. And I'm like, why are people so like this hustle? Like, some people are just like, this hustle culture is like, no, it's fucked up. Like, we're mammals. Have you seen other mammals throughout the day? All mammals just like lay there most of the time and just enjoy being present. Like, the happiest person in history was the Buddha, who literally just sat under a tree and was like, yes, this is perfect. We're not meant to be go, 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 hustle, 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 nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. It's not good for the human physiology. It's not good for the human brain. And yeah, billionaires, I, no, there $1 billion. It would take someone making $100,000 a year 10,000 years to make $1 billion. There is nothing that a person can say or do or make or create or whatever that I think is worth 10,000 people making $100,000. No. And that's why another reason why when some I know a lot of people love Rosa DeLauro because of
Yeah.
the child tax credit, which was a temporary tax credit that she's been fighting for 30 years and only got it for 2. And now she's, back at it, the good old fight. Let's see if we have to wait another 30 years to get that. But it's just to me, this is a Band-Aid solution to a bigger problem, that billionaires exist, that CEOs, instead of making, back in the 50s, they used to make 50 times their lowest paid employee. Now it's anywhere from 700 to 3,000 times their lowest paid employee. And just no, you are all addressing symptoms of the problem, not the problem itself. You're ignoring the problem. You're putting these Band-Aids on it to have the performative public facing of me trying to do something. And just no, you're not actually addressing the root cause of any of these problems. And you have no incentive to, because for the past 35 years, you have done and said the same exact thing. You should, someone said oh, I really love that Rosa DeLauro shows up to the picket lines with us. Okay, cool. I can stand there too for a couple of hours. What is she doing with her power to actually fight for workers' rights? Everyone says in, New Haven, the largest city in the district, home of Yale University, for the past all the years.
Which I have a friend
Yale
of mine that loves
city.
New Haven, by the way. I just asked him the other day, I was like, what's your favorite town in Connecticut? And he's like, ooh, if I had to just pick one, it'd be New Haven.
Oh, I love New Haven. It is fantastic. It is a beautiful, the Elm City. It is beautiful. It's got a lot of culture. It's got a lot of diversity. It's got, it's a science hub. It's an education hub. But there's still a lot of issues. There's still a lot of poverty. There's still a lot of gentrification. There's still a lot of homelessness. And so the city of New Haven loses $110 million a year because Yale University has brought up all these properties, and they use the Connecticut state constitution to not have to pay property taxes. And so people in the middle class and the working class have to foot the bill for all of the things that the city needs. And Rosa DeLauro's been in office for 35 years. What? Great. She showed up to the picket line. What is she doing in the halls of Congress to make Yale pay that $110 million to the city of New Haven so that the people in that town have the resources that they need and deserve? When I worked at Yale for 12 years, and at the very end, when I left, I sued them for disability discrimination.
Oh, really?
I didn't have money for a lawyer, so I, as a private individual, stood up and took Yale University to federal court. Now, I didn't win, but I didn't have money for a lawyer, so I defended myself against Yale University. What have you done, Rosa DeLauro, to stand up to Yale University? Because if I'm elected to Congress, if I am willing to try and fight Yale as a private citizen with no resources, you better believe that with the power of Congress and the people behind me, I will hold Yale accountable, and I will do everything I can to make sure that they are paying that $110 million. We can propose legislation that says, universities that don't pay property taxes are going to have a federal fine or a federal tax. And we can use that tax to give to the cities that they're not paying taxes to. What are you doing, Rosa DeLauro? You are a performance artist. She is a performance artist. She dyes her hair purple and convinces people that makes her a progressive. She's the 120th most progressive member of Congress, meaning 56% of congressional Democrats are more progressive than she is. You can call yourself something, that doesn't mean you are that.
This is true. As we know, because let's just face it. Ooh, I'm going to piss people off, but oh well.
Do it. I love pissing people off.
There's nothing like someone that has overcome extreme adversity, that is from a percentage of the population that is constantly having to fight for themselves. Those are the people that should be representing you in Congress, like the disability advocates, members of the LGBTQ plus community. Like, I come from a generation, I always tell people, like, I was gay when it wasn't cool. Like, I was of that generation that was still getting my ass kicked and spit on. Like, I don't want that for other generations, right? Like, the way that we're going now, I think this is what Congress really needs to consider. Are you for oppression or are you against it? And often, when we stand up for what we believe in, that is the harder road. It is longer, and you will make less friends on that road. But the friends that you make will be solid. So what I would like to see in Congress are people standing up for what they believe in and saying, hey, you know what? Like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Libertarian, I'm a Democrat, or whatever. But this is bullshit. Like, hey, I may be a gay person, right? But I can advocate for straight people. I have a disability, but I can advocate for people that don't. It's harder the other way around. It's just a life experience thing that is just different. And this is why I've decided to try and, bring some more attention to some of these candidates that are different, that I feel like have the teeth to do these sorts of things. And the example that you gave was great because, Yale has been around forever and it is, very esteemed. And of course, they're going to do whatever they want to do because their whole thing is going to be like, but we are Connecticut. Like, we've been here forever. How dare you question our authority? You must bend a knee. And I think that's what I'm really seeing in the Democratic Party that I'm very opposed to, right? Is this, like, second arrondissement establishment, elitist class bullshit bootlicker stuff, which whenever I was initially getting into it, the way I was taught was the Democrats historically, recently, we're not talking about the slavery portion of it. I'm talking like recent. When I was growing up, I thought they were supposed to be for the working man, for the unionist, for the LGBTQ plus community. They were the other party. And now all I tend to see from them is the elitist party. And a lot of the Democratic establishment picks that I'm seeing them present in a lot of different races, the through line is kind of the same. Very centrist, very say nothing. I'm seeing a lot of places go backward, right? Where they're like, let's pick a straight white male, that this is the future of the party. And I'm like, bitch, please, that was 70 years ago on a good day. Like, why don't we have a Congress that is truly representative of the American people? I want to see Indians, Native Americans, like Hispanic, Black, African American, like however you identify, I couldn't give a shit. But I need to see the rainbow that represents the U.S. I need to see those asses in those seats.
I want to see those asses in those seats, but not the ones that have a lot of money. Because look at someone like Peter Thiel or Sam Altman or Scott Bessent. All three of them, gay men. All three of them, horrible human beings. 100%. Look at Clarence Thomas. Awful human being.
Yep.
Even though he's a disadvantaged group. Because at the end of the day, not only are, diversity of diversity
working class
like,
diversity.
A gay man is going to have a
working class diversity.
Working class. Yes. Oh my. Okay, that is the most.
You can steal that. Put it on a sticker and slap it on your campaign.
I like that. I want working class diversity, because once you reach a certain threshold of wealth, you like suddenly your identity, at the end of the day, to me, the two biggest identities are the working and middle class versus the elite Epstein class.
100%.
Because all the establishment Democrats, they're pro-predator. Look, so still they passed the law about the Epstein files. Why is there no movement on that? Why is there still not outrage in the Democratic Party that there are pedophiles?
Because they're taking money from those people.
And I'll tell you why. Because they're taking money from those people. And then even look at it's like Nancy Mace, can't stand the woman. There's nothing about her. There's almost nothing about her that I agree with. But she did propose that bill that would expose all the predators like Eric Swalwell in Congress. And Democrats overwhelmingly joined Republicans and some of them are like, oh, well, we're concerned about the privacy of the victims. That's a great concern. So instead of just saying no to the bill, why don't you offer amendments that will help protect the victims' privacy while also exposing the predators so that we hold these people accountable?
How about you ask them what they think rather than persecute them and continue to drag these women through the mud and make them give all these depositions and all this shit whenever they already did that with the FBI? Like, bring these women up who were brave enough to have these conversations and say, hey, what do you think about this? Make them an expert fucking committee. Do you want to fight something like that? You need to go to the people that experienced it.
Yeah. Okay. So when I'm elected to Congress, you might need to move to DC to help me with some of this. So again, this is why we need working class diversity, because even as a gay man, there's some things I'm never going to be able to truly see from like a woman's perspective because I just don't have that lived experience. And that's why it's so helpful having people like you and people from all backgrounds and all walks of life collaborate and communicate with one another so that we can see and understand and be given the opportunity to see things from a different angle, from a different nuance. Because at the end, it's like, I mean, and I think that's just inherent in my nature. But this is how mammals learn.
Because you mentioned mammals, and mammals learn this way. They learn from one another.
Yes. Yeah. We can learn from one another if we listen to one another and accept leave the ego at the door. It's like, I have ideas. I hope they're good ideas, but I'm not claiming that they're the best ideas. I mean, I guess I say those ideas because from the knowledge that I have, I think that's what's best. But I don't pretend to know that because I think that's best, that is what is best. If I hear, like you just said, yes, we should have a panelist of the women that came forward and did the depositions to help craft those laws because they have the most experience. And that's something that I completely overlooked. So even though, I said, we can, my idea is to pass that bill with some reforms, it's an even better idea to have those women be a part of that process because they understand it best. And that is what collaboration is supposed to be about, is bringing everyone's ideas and perspectives together, leaving ego at the door, and working to see how many good ideas can be compiled into one great idea. And I just don't see that happening with our current leadership. And there's nothing encouraging that to happen because, again, all of these people have benefited from the status quo. At the convention, Rosa DeLauro's nominated were saying how she used to live in poverty and she understands the struggle. Well, she's worth $3 million and her husband's worth $30 million and they own an apartment, or they own a penthouse overlooking the city of New Haven. And I'm just like, okay, the struggle of 80 years ago is not the same struggle of today, because they said for her to get out of that struggle, she just had to get an education. My generation, our generation, are the most educated and have the least resources. So education is no longer that same pathway out of poverty and struggle. In fact, a lot of people we were told that we need to get those bachelor's degrees and we need to get those master's and we need to get that higher education if we want good, decent paying jobs. And a lot
Right.
of people with masters still have to get entry level positions making close to, our state minimum wage is $16, but I know plenty of
Well, at
people with
least you have that.
masters.
Shit, Indiana's still like the federal level. It's like 725, which is fucking bullshit. I mean, goddamn. Like, even the Republicans at this point have to look at that and be like, like, come on.
There was an experiment. There's this experiment thing where it's like a box with with like whatever this
The crank.
thing, the crank. Thank you, with the crank, and it pays you minimum wage. So all you have to do is stand there and crank, and it'll give you minimum wage. After like 5 or 10 minutes, people walk away because they're like, literally doing next to nothing isn't worth my time. and and like minimum, yeah. Well, first of all, $16 a minimum wage is ridiculous. It really should be $30. It should be $30
Oh, well,
minimum wage.
I'm glad that you said that, because people look like they were going to have a stroke whenever I said that the minimum wage should be $35 an hour. And I said, because if we had continued at the rate that we were going in like the 60s and 70s, our current minimum wage right now would be $25 an hour. So then it's an additional 10. But because we've been exploited and held down for years by 725, which servers, by the way, are still in that archaic sense of what, 210 for, like, if you're a server in a rate.
The sub minimum wage is $2.13 and has not changed in 35 years, despite in 2009 the Democrats having an overwhelming majority in the House and Senate and the presidency, and they'd only raised the minimum wage but neglected to look at the sub minimum wage, which disproportionately affects women, people of color, marginalized communities. So when the Democratic Party talks about them caring about these people, no, you do not. You just say you do.
Mm-hmm.
Saying and doing are two different things.
100%. Well, this really pisses me off with the disabled community, right? Because they still have laws on the books that are basically paying people a slave wage to make them seem productive. So Indiana is a perfect... We're like ground zero for all bullshit. We're in a race to the bottom with fucking Texas. But if you want to see how broken things are, come to a place like Indiana. Because they now are trying to make the disabled population be productive enough to receive benefits. So after they were done slashing SNAP and all the rest of it, which the disabled community basically survives off of, and obviously, everybody would like to be able to do something, but sometimes people's disabilities might not allow that. And this is why we have certain programs like this. Rather than try and invest in that community to make things better, they're making things harder. They're making people suffer more. And that's another section of this conversation when you're getting into the wage wars. But you can't have that type of conversation with really any of the congressional people, because they'll look at you, they'll acknowledge you, they'll nod their head and be like, yeah, that's really awful. We should do something about that. Well, why don't you? Why don't you do something about it?
Because it is all performance. It is all virtue signaling. They say the right words. They, it's all an act. It's all theater.
Yep.
They're all actors.
And
they're not leaders.
They hate
They're
drag
not public
queens
servants.
who that's their job to perform. Yet I often make that joke that the congressperson's actual profession would be drag, because all they're doing is dressing up and performing. So they actually have more in common with the trans community than any of them would like to actually say. So they should actually be protecting this community.
So another thing that I like to mention as a biologist is that transsexuality is natural. It is in nature.
Mm-hmm.
There are species that if there's not enough of a certain biological sex will actually undergo natural sexual transition to procreate. So being trans is inherently in the natural world. The only thing, homosexuality is observed in the natural world. I think the first time that they observed like whales having sex or something, they discovered it was two male whales. Transsexuality, homosexuality, the spectrum of sexuality is observed in nature. The only thing that's unnatural is transphobia and homophobia and non-binary phobias. It's all bullshit. It is just all bullshit that they capitalize on to divide and conquer the people, so that instead of, yes, blaming the billionaires that are literally taking everything away from you in front of your fucking face. So I saw this the other day. I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. The American government has tested whether or not we will revolt, because we were live streamed a genocide, then told that it was being paid for by our tax dollars, that not only paid for that, but then paid for these billionaires to rape underage children, ritualistically sacrifice them, eat their flesh, and then dissolve their bones in acid. And we're paying for all of that while they destroy our environment. And we're all just like, you know what? At least I have Disney Plus. At least I can get whatever I need off of Amazon Prime. And it's just like, the elites just show that they can literally do anything that they want, and that they can just put it in our face, and we will all continue to go to work because, you know, having that work ethic is so important. And it's just like, we are all so propagandized. I saw another thing where a Russian says to an American, you know, you have really good propaganda, and the Russian goes, yes, we do have really good propaganda, but yours is better. And the American goes, we don't have propaganda. And the Russian goes, yeah, that's how good your propaganda is that Americans don't even, like, Russians at least know and understand that they're being propagandized. Americans are just like, yeah, we're not propagandized. Just like, no, you are all literally trained to hate everyone that's different than you, but love the people that are destroying your lives. And you're defending the ones that are destroying your lives instead of standing in solidarity with the other people like you who are having their lives destroyed just as much.
Well, I think that this is also important, and I'm very certain it's because I'm from a farming background too. But a lot of indigenous communities throughout the world, not just in the U.S., share this thought that we are a part of the earth, right? Like, we incorporate land because we're a part of it, because it serves us. We serve it, it serves us. So to create this boundary, which is another thing that people don't think about, right? Like 30, 40 years ago, people actually worked less, so they had more of an opportunity to experience nature. Now most Americans can't, so they're selling it to you on a screen. Like, most people don't even have time, like, from their allotted time that they get off of work to actually go and visit a state park or a national park. So the billionaires, the millionaires, the elites, they are now enjoying that space, and they just want to own it, right? So not only are they busy raping the natural resources that are ours, that certain people have preserved for the American people, but the American people need to get back in touch. Like, literally, when someone says touch grass to someone, you should go do that. Like, it's therapeutic. Like, everyone should have access to good, clean drinking water, as well as to bathe in or to canoe in or for animals to drink or whatever. Like, we're 70% water, like the human body. Is that correct? Yes.
Yep.
So you put all these things into play, right? Like, and you see the balance. And if you can't have camaraderie with nature and with the animal world, when you are part of the animal world, like, you're missing a big part of yourself. So I think if we can educate people, just use our powers for good. Everybody has a skill set, right? But you know, I'm going to throw this one out there. I hope you remember. Do you remember Captain Planet?
I remember Captain Planet, yes.
Okay, so, when our powers combine, Captain Planet, like, I was in that generation, right? Like, we need to combine our powers for good. This is what makes me really hopeful about all you progressives. And I just think that we're on to something here. We should keep cracking away. And I figure that if those of us that are trying to use our powers for good, if we can put as many of you in front of as many faces as humanly possible to allow you to share with people how you are going to do good for your communities, that's a great start.
I agree. And I appreciate you using your platform to help people like me. Because one thing that has been disappointing is that some people, their race ends and then they're not helping, the rest of us to try and get across the finish line. They're not helping us, learn lessons that could get us into, Congress. And so I also understand that after a congressional race, people might need a little bit of a break.
Sure.
I know that on June 9th, if we don't make it onto the ballot by June 9th, then the campaign ends there. If we make it onto the ballot on June 9th, I'm taking at least a couple of days rest of doing absolutely nothing because the past 9 months have been very trying. But regardless of what happens, yes, I want to stay in the fight, and it's very inspiring to see people like you who are also staying in the fight and helping the rest of us, because that is what a movement is about. It's not about an individual running a campaign. It's not even about a group of volunteers helping an individual run a campaign. It is people across the country working together as a genuine movement of thousands of people, the hundreds of people that are willing to be the face, but then the thousands of people behind each of those people working together with a unified message, a unified goal of actually holding the establishment accountable for their failures, for their lies, for their deceit, for their gaslighting, while also providing a hopeful vision of the future based in policy that is specifically designed to uplift working class people and middle class people and, just ordinary, diverse working class people to build a life worth living and worth being proud of. Because I don't think that there's anything that I shouldn't say that there's not anything, but there's just so much not to be proud of how our society is currently running. And so I want to be a part of that movement, that when, the history books are written and generations later, they can look back and say, hey, these people tried to do what was right. And because of that, a better future is made possible for those that come after us.
I agree. Well, I think that's probably a great place to wrap. So tell everybody where they can find you.
So our website is www.rice4ct.com, all letters. We're also on a bunch of social media, and our handle is Andrew Rice CT3. We have a hearing tonight to challenge the results of the convention, but we are collecting ballot signatures. So if you are in Connecticut's 3rd District, we would love your signature. And if you are so willing to volunteer your time to help get those signatures, we can always use fundraising and donations, because campaigns, literature, gas, things add up. So having working class people give donations so that we are not, because I refuse to take APAC donations, PAC donations, corporate donations. We don't take any of that. Spreading the word. And then the one thing that I do like to say beyond policy and platform is there are 2 things that people should be doing. First, in a society that is designed to make people doubt and question and hate themselves, one of the most radical things that you can do is self-love. So love yourself, love your neighbor. And second, there's nothing, if you're not going to have fun, then there's nothing worth fighting for. So in order to fight fascism, you need to have fun. So fun fights fascism. So self-love, fun fights fascism, www.riceforct.com.
Okay. And I always ask everybody this. Who is Andrew Rice? Tell people who you really are and what you want them to remember from this podcast.
That I'm just a regular guy that was given an opportunity to try and do what he thought was right for the people that he wants to serve, but also just people in general, because I want people to be confident that I'm here in solidarity with them, fighting for all of us to have a better future that we all deserve.
I think that's great. Well, thank you for joining us today, Andrew. Good luck on your campaign, and come back and visit us sometime.
I will. Thank you so much, Tabitha. I really appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
We are at a pivotal point in American history. We do not have the luxury to remain silent. Programs are disappearing every day. We hope that this podcast raises awareness and sparks a sense of advocacy in you. We all can make a difference. The important thing is to start. See you next time.